a lot of times you will say, or your staff will say, well, what does it matter if they cancel? You're not paying me for that anyways. But that money does more than just pay the instructor, right? You, especially if you're setting up your fee structure properly, that there is revenue that the business has to use from each of those visits, right? To pay the overhead, to pay the rent. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode here at the Female Empowered Podcast. I am your host, Krista Gurka. And if you are watching this on YouTube, and hey, if you didn't know, I have a YouTube channel where I do, some of my podcasts require some visuals. So it's great because I can show on my board and everything. So if you want, go subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also put a little extra videos on there sometimes. So they have like more tutorials on how to do things. But anyways, if you're watching this on YouTube, you will see that I am in my pajamas. I am in my robe, my nice comfy robe. My friends know me so well. They gave me for my birthday because I'm just a lounger sitting here with my coffee. And why is this important? It just really is important just because I can get up and do some of my work in my pajamas. I can record a podcast in my pajamas. I can sometimes spend a whole day in my pajamas because I have created a business, again, a situation where I am working. So I am working, but I'm working from home and I'm getting a lot more productive being the head of growth for Pilates in the Grove and also for helping other women in healthcare and wellness grow their businesses so they can get to the spot of being here and working from their home in their pajamas if they would like. Today's topic is actually, I think, an important one, and it came up in multiple meetings with our membership community. So both the FitBiz Foundations community, as well as the Inner Circle community. And so I thought it's been something that's been going around in the Facebook group, as well as on both of our coaching calls for the month of January, cancellations. I know everyone hates cancellations. One, we hate when they happen, but two, we also hate to deal with them. And so today, what I want to kind of do is like demystify the whole cancellation process and start normalizing how you can handle it and just making it a very binary action and ways why we feel disgruntled and upset and difficult to deal with cancellations, and then what you can do about them. And then also, what are they costing you and your business? Because I think that this really, really is one of the deepest things that people don't realize. There is a cost to that. Okay. So a lot of times you will say, or your staff will say, well, what does it matter if they cancel? You're not paying me for that anyways. But that money does more than just pay the instructor, right? You, especially if you're setting up your fee structure properly, that there is revenue that the business has to use from each of those visits, right? To pay the overhead, to pay the rent, to pay an administrator, to pay, I don't know, the equipment costs. There's lots of stuff that go into the percentage that the business keeps. All right. It's not just profit. That's not profit. Maybe a small percentage of that is profit, right? Maybe 10% of that is profit. But usually if you're giving your staff member 30, 35%, another 35 to 40% is going into overhead. So that leaves like 25% into profit. So without that 35%, you could really run yourself into a hole, into trouble without realizing what cancellations are actually costing your business. So let's see, like, how much money do you think you're actually leaving on the table when your cancellation policy and your cancellation enforcement really goes unchecked? So let's just say you're a solopreneur. It's just you and your business, right? You're providing the service, whether it's teaching the clients or having patients. Okay. And you have 2 cancellations a week, which is kind of on the mild side, right? So you get 2 late, I'm talking about late cancellations. or even early enough that you can't fill that spot. So say you have 2 cancellations a week that you cannot get those people rescheduled and you cannot fill their spot. So that visit goes $0. Okay. And say you charge, again, on the low end, $150 for a physical therapy session or a private or a duet or what have you. Okay. Those 2 cancellations a week over the course of a year is $15,000. $15,000. Okay. So if you're a solopreneur and you're at the 6-figure mark at about $150,000, right there is 15% of your revenue. 15%, 1-5. That's huge, 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 huge. Okay. So now let's take that and say you're not just a solopreneur, but you have staff, you have a team. Okay. What does that do to your business? So let's say you have, a staff of 2. It's you and somebody else, and each of you gets 2 cancellations a week that you cannot reschedule. $30,000 a year. What if you have 5 employees? $75,000. What if you have 10 staff members? $150,000, and so on and so on. That is a lot of money that you could be leaving on the table because you are either, one, do not have a solid cancellation policy in place, or more often are not enforcing it. That's usually what we're seeing, right? So now if you're like, well, if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm not a solopreneur, I don't work one-on-one, I don't have a physical therapy practice, I have a studio setting. All right, I'm going to give you the numbers too. I will give you the numbers because it's just as bad for you. Okay, so if you're thinking, I have 20 classes on my schedule a week. Okay, that's like 4 classes a day, 5 days a week, 20 classes. Okay, relatively for most studios, I would say that's par for the course. And you charge, again, on the low end, $25 a session, which is on the low end probably for most of you listening in here, but it will probably make easier math. Okay, so you have 20 classes a week, and let's say in each of those classes you get somebody that cancels. So that's 20 people that cancel a week at $25 a session. That's $26,000 in lost revenue a year. $26,000, right? Now you have more classes, or you have more people canceling. Okay, double that, triple that. That's a lot of money that you could be leaving on the table that could be going to your bottom line, and it's definitely cutting into your profit. All right, so I hope that with this just little analogy of thinking about it from a numbers perspective, right, then what you're seeing is that cancellations don't just hurt the business, okay? They hurt your staff if you're paying them per person or per session, and now it's affecting their income. Okay, so if you even look at it let's look at it from a staff perspective. So let's say each of your staff members gets 2 cancellations a week, and they get paid, I don't know, let's just say for even numbers, $50 for that session. That's $100 a week. That's $5,000 a year that they are missing out on. Okay, and if they're making, I don't know, $80,000, $90,000 a year, that's like 5-6% of their overall income. It's a lot of money. Okay, so it's not just affecting you as a business, it's affecting your staff for their income and possible bonus structure, because if there's not profit left, nobody's getting a bonus, right? It's affecting your overhead and your ability to grow the business, because you could be using that money to reinvest in the business. Number 3, it's hurting your clients that are, maybe these people that are canceling, maybe they're taking up prime slots and they cancel at the last minute and you can't get somebody else in. So it's hurting your lead generation of being able to get more clients in the studio. It's also hurting your planning, right? Because how can you look out and see how many places you have available if you're always getting cancellations all the time and you're not enforcing them? All right. So what I want to talk about now is, what are some of the common cancellations we get? Okay, what are the mindset issues around why it's difficult for us to hold those boundaries and enforce cancellation policies, and a few things that you can do. Okay, so for the last, I don't know, now we're going on 3 years, which is crazy to think about. But for the last 3 years, obviously there's been cancellations around COVID, right? At this point, we're 3 years out, okay? It's important that you even tell your clients, or you have some sort of policy in place about what you're going to do if people are calling in because they've contracted COVID, or they think that they're sick, or what have you. Okay, especially if this is happening time and time again. You really, really need to sit down and create a policy around what you can do in order to kind of navigate around this. Okay, we're getting less and less and less. We get very few of them because we really do enforce our cancellation policy. But have a policy in place. Can you do a virtual session if this person cannot come in physically? And you can do virtual Pilates, you can do virtual physical therapy, maybe not, well, maybe they could Zoom in if they're home and they feel okay, depending on what kind of class structure you have, if you have yoga or personal training or something to that effect. Okay. Why else are people canceling? They are sick or they don't feel sick. Now, usually I tell people you're usually sick the night before. Okay. So if you know the night before and you can cancel and give us enough time to fill that slot, we won't charge you. Right? You're just training your clients to abide by your policies, right? What are some other reasons? Childcare. Their kid gets sick. It happens. It happens, right? But what can you do? Can you allow them to bring their kid in? Can they do a virtual session? Right? What if they're in pain? You know, we get sometimes people that come in and say, oh, my back hurts. I don't think I can come to class today. And sometimes we'll do something like, hey, we have a physical therapist available. Would you like to come in for a physical therapy session? Not everyone has that. I understand. Maybe you can change the session. Maybe they can come in for a private instead of a group class. All right. So there's that. There's traffic. Okay, that happens. I mean, I'm in Miami. That happens all the time, but that shouldn't happen every single time. It shouldn't happen every single time. Right. And then sometimes work obligations come up, but this is also my work and this is my staff's work. Right. And so we hold our team accountable for being at their meetings, et cetera, et cetera. And so we also hold our staff members, our clients accountable for that as well. All right. So what are some different policies that you can implement in your business? And I agree, I think that you should implement your cancellation policy around whatever your core values are. Whatever works for you. You don't have to copy what we do at Pilates in the Grove. You don't have to copy what Jane Doe does down the street. You can decide on your cancellation policies. Just be sure you're going to enforce them. Okay, so there's different ways you can implement a cancellation policy. Now, you can have a policy where it's time-based. So at Pilates in the Grove, for our group classes, it's 12 hours. Okay, 12 hours. Before, so 13 hours, you won't get charged. 11 and a half hours, if we cannot fill that spot, you'll get charged the full price of your class. Okay. You can have, for our one-on-one session, so physical therapy or private Pilates, it's 24 hours. So you have to cancel the day before. During business hours. All right. We have an online system. That's another thing. Try, how can you automate the system? We have an online system so people can go in and cancel their classes online, right? So the system does the work for us. So some people I know have 48-hour one-on-one cancellation policies. All right. We do not do that at Pilates in the Grove because there are things, again, I understand that things come up and a 24-hour cancellation policy for me is enough. I have a strong enough wait list to get other people in. And so I do a 24-hour cancellation for my one-on-ones. You can choose to do a cancellation fee. So in other words, if your session is $100, you can charge them $50 if they don't show up or if they cancel. Or you can do the full cost of the session. We do the full cost of the session. Okay. And it's basically like they attended, unless we can fill that spot. So our policy is 12 hours for group classes, 24 hours for one-on-one or physical therapy, unless we can fill your spot with someone from our wait list, or you reschedule for another session in that same day. So if you can't come at 8, but you can come at 4, then we don't charge you obviously for the 8 o'clock session. All right, so that's our policy. And if you don't attend, it's a no-show or a late cancellation, then you lose either that class or that session. Now, how do we implement this? What are strategies that you can use to make this as easy and streamlined as possible to implement it? First, decide what your cancellation policy is. Are you going to give someone a get out of jail free card, so to speak? So we give everyone their first cancellation as a warning. And then we document that in our system. So the next time they cancel, whoever gets that call already sees that they had a cancellation and they get charged the next time. We also have a policy that everyone's entitled to 1 cancellation every quarter. So we just check. As we're taking the message or we're looking in the system, we can see, when did this person last cancel? These are really for people that have standing appointments. They come 2-3 times a week, whether for privates or group classes, and we can see how many times they've canceled. We charge them if it's more than once a quarter. So we charge them. It's in everything we do, which is another step of how you can really implement it. Make sure that it is written in every email communication that goes out, email reminder, text reminder. Please note our 24-hour cancellation policy. If you cannot attend this appointment, please cancel within that cancellation window. Done. And give them ways. How do you want them to cancel? Do you want them to call? Do you want them to hit a button that they can cancel? Do you want them to text? Do you want them to email? Again, I say that make it as easy as possible for people that you can automate it. So if you have an online system, an automated system, that is going to be the best, because the system does it for you. It takes it away. It takes it out of your hands. So that's a great way to automate it. All right. So again, you're going to decide what your cancellation policy is. You are going to write it everywhere, in your studio, on the wall, in the auto emails that go out, in the reminder texts, okay, in the confirmation emails, in the sale. You can do it in the sale. Most softwares have receipt notes that you can put in there. Please note, we have a very strict cancellation policy. And you can even say why. Because we schedule our time one-on-one and we're available to you, we have a strict cancellation policy in order to keep you consistent with your goals and keep our schedules full. And by the way, our cancellation policy is reciprocal. So if we have to cancel a class on someone because one of my instructors got sick, or we have to cancel their session and it's inside the same cancellation window, we owe them a free session. So it's reciprocal. If we have to close down a class because an instructor got sick and can't come in, we owe each member of that class, we owe each person that was in that class a free class. So it's reciprocal. It's on both sides. And that shows that I walk the talk and, I live by my word. So if I'm going to make you accountable, we're accountable as well. So second, how can you automate it? Have them cancel themselves online. That's the best way. Try to automate it as much as possible. If you are uncomfortable holding the boundary of cancellations, delegate it. If someone calls to cancel the one-on-one session or physical therapy session, send the call to your staff member. Convince them that it's important and why it's important for that person to come in for their session today. Or have the person that's working, whether it's at your front desk or your call center or whatever have you, make sure that they're a strong enough individual with good customer service skills that they're okay holding that boundary and enforcing the cancellation policy. Another way that's really good to avoid feeling guilty about cancellations is have a strong wait list. Have a system in place for a wait list. There's lots of softwares like Jane, I know, has a wait list feature. Moments, which we use, has a waitlist feature. So there's ways you can even just use a Google Doc, paper and pen. So there's ways that you can use a cancellation list or a wait list, because if that person cancels and you can get someone else in, everyone's happy. The other client's happy for getting in, and the one that canceled is happy that they're not getting charged. And the therapist is happy because they're getting a session, getting paid, and the business is happy because they didn't lose any revenue. Win, 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 win. All right. So have a wait list and then use the wait list. Another policy that's great is grab a credit card for prepayment. You don't have to charge them, but you have a credit card on file for these situations. In our intake forms, it talks about all of why we need a credit card on file and why we hold it. It's for late cancellations and no-shows. All right. It's like if you go, sometimes when you call a spa to make a reservation, they ask for a credit card. Sometimes when you call a restaurant and you're going to make a big party reservation, they ask for a credit card. This is not uncommon practice. If you have a group class, that's okay. Let them reserve the spot. They're reserving the spot, so they should pay for it ahead of time. Some places I know actually charge you before you come in for your one-on-one. They charge you the day before. They charge you when they send out the auto reminder, because it's now outside the cancellation window. There are people that do that. Okay. Whatever you would like is what you should do. Whatever you think is going to work best for your business. So grab a credit card at the time of schedule. It also saves you from running around after people chasing down money, which is not an efficient, effective, or sustainable way to run a business. Okay, so let's go into the mindset around cancellations. Why do we hate them? Well, because it's not fun to enforce policies that are going to require charging people. It's not fun to enforce policies, if you have kids, that are going to require punishment. It's not fun. However, if you don't do it, if you don't enforce them, they will keep canceling and canceling and canceling, and you will continue to lose revenue, and you won't be able to grow that way. Okay. So we feel guilty because we're nice people. We're in a business of helping people move. And it sucks when we have to enforce a policy that we just don't love. Most movement people are feeling-based people, and we don't love that. Okay. But you cannot love it and still enforce it. You can serve people and still hold your boundaries. You can serve people and be understanding and still make money. It's okay. Those can all go together. Another mindset around not enforcing cancellations is we're worried that these people are not going to come back. I would say to you, if you have chronic cancelers, do you want them to come back? How about opening up that space so that a person that actually values your service and is going to be the kind of client you want to replicate is going to come back? What about the people thinking, well, what are they going to think of me if I enforce these policies? They're going to think I'm mean. They're going to think I'm forceful. They're going to think I'm selfish. What other people think about you is none of your business. Okay? Their thoughts do not pay your bills. Their opinions of you do not pay your rent. You are a small business. You have policies. They agreed to those policies when they started seeing you. Okay. Now, people also say, well, I just don't want to say no to them. Well, if you're saying yes to them, you're saying no to something else. And some of the things you're saying no to are yourself, your time, your family, your team, right? Your profit. And by the way, other clients and community that now you cannot serve because these people are always canceling. So what are some ways that you can make enforcing the cancellation policy a little easier? Well, number one, I will tell you, is just start doing it. Because it's like anything else. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Okay. The more you start enforcing the policy and making it pretty black and white, the easier it will become. And the more often you'll get people saying, you know what, I understand. I can't make it. I'm sorry. Go ahead and charge me. They get it. And those are the people you want more of. Like I said, we always give a first cancellation for free, but then we say, no problem. We understand things come up. We'll go ahead and early cancel you now without a fee. Please note, we do have a 24-hour cancellation policy. So I'll go ahead and reschedule you this time. Next time, if you're not able to cancel before 24 hours, there is a fee imposed. And most people will be like, oh my God, thank you so much. And just remind them, if you need to reschedule, please do so 24 hours in advance. And if they can't, they're well aware of the policy. Okay, I understand. I get it. Charge me. Because that person now cannot see another client, right? Which is again why we try to encourage people to cancel as early as possible so we can get somebody from the wait list. All right. So here's some role play. Somebody calls. Hi, Krista. I'm so sorry. I'm stuck in traffic on 95. I don't know if I can make it. So then I can say, oh, how far do you think you'll be? Because as long as you get here, we can finish whatever part of the session is. Because if you don't get here at all, then we have to impose a fee. And I'd hate, even if we can get 30 minutes in, do you think you can get here? That's one way. Another way is via text. You know what? I'm really sorry. I'm not going to be able to make it today. I need to cancel my session. You can reply, thanks for the heads up. Is there a way that would you like to change it to virtual? I'm happy to do that for you for today. Would you like to send somebody else in your place so that you don't lose the visit and you don't incur a charge? Excuse me. How about, no problem, Sandy. I'm going to see if I can get someone in off the wait list. If we can do that, we won't have to charge you the cancellation fee today. However, if not, we'll have to impose the cancellation fee as this is your second cancellation this month. Okay. And if people give you pushback, which might happen, you can say things, just listen to them, acknowledge what you hear. I understand. I do understand. Believe me, I hate doing this. But I can't, unfortunately, I can't run the business without, I lose money every time a client doesn't come in. And I get that you're upset. And I understand, I do. Is there a way that we can't reschedule you for later in the day? If that's their first cancellation, again, go ahead. You know what? I totally get it. I'm going to let this one slide, but please really be aware that next time we do have a cancellation policy. This is the policy. And, we do that to ensure that you stay on your goals as well as we can continue to run a smooth, business here and impact all the clients we want to. Okay. Sometimes you can just be you can just say, okay, thanks for letting us know. We'll have to mark this as a late cancellation today. And just the system will automate it and you charge them. Okay. Start with what you feel comfortable with. Maybe you don't feel comfortable charging them a whole session. Maybe you feel comfortable charging 50% of the fee. Okay. It's up to you. It's up to you. You can decide, but don't decide based on guilt. Don't decide, well, I really want to charge them the whole fee, but I feel guilty, so it's easier for me to do the other one. It's okay to charge them a whole fee. If I miss my therapist appointment, she's going to charge me. If I miss my haircut appointment, they're going to charge me. And I understand these people make money. They're a service provider. It's time for money. But again, let's review some of the things you can do. One, set your policy, make it as clear and concise as possible. And then teach them or tell everyone it is the first time they visit, their first class, on all auto emails, responders, confirmations, etc. Make it known, put it everywhere. Our cancellation policy is, thank you so much for your support. Okay. Try to automate it as much as possible. And then start enforcing it. The more you enforce it, the easier it becomes to enforce. And the more you're teaching your clients that this is a policy and you will enforce it. If you have children out there and or pets for that matter, right? If you keep saying like, oh, this is going to be the consequence if you don't get off, you're not going to go to the birthday party if you don't get off your video games. But then you never enforce it. The kids are going to know you don't mean anything. So they're going to keep doing it. So if you don't enforce your cancellation policy, people are going to keep doing it. As soon as you start enforcing your cancellation policy, the people that don't like it will leave, which is fine, because you don't want those people that don't value your time and value. Okay. They'll leave. That's okay, because better people will come in their place, because the universe knows that you're enforcing now these policies, and they'll start sending you people that align with you, and they'll start extraditing, getting those people that don't out of your way. And two, people will be like, oh, they really mean it. I can't cancel. I will make sure that I can get there so that I don't get charged. Sometimes people respect you more for that, because now you're a legitimate business and you're not here to let people walk all over you. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I think cancellations are a big thing, and I'd love to start a conversation about it. So DM me over on Instagram at Krista Gurka. Let me know what your feelings are around cancellations. If you've ever done the math to see how much your business is actually leaving on the table by allowing these cancellations to happen. Okay, let's start a conversation. DM me on Instagram. Maybe screenshot you watching this video, tag me over on Instagram, send it to someone that could use this episode, because I think all of us can. It's a very, very difficult thing for us to navigate in this kind of business. And I hear you, right? But your business is also for you and for you to be able to help people. And you can't do that unless you have certain policies in place. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Let's, if you would be so kind and maybe scroll down just a little with your finger, go ahead, do it right now. Leave me a review at the bottom of this, wherever you're listening to this podcast. It really helps me get in front of more people, helps more people learn to deal with cancellations, and overall allows us to impact more people around the country. Until next time, my friends, bye for now, y'all.